My name is Eric Worre, and today I have top network marketing earners and social media experts, John and Nadya Melton. They're going to talk about their journey, their lessons learned along the way, and going to give you some tips on how you can do better in social media. So with no further ado, let's jump into my conversation with John and Nadya Melton. John and Nadya Melton, you guys have been in network marketing for how long?
22 years for me, coming up next month.
Yes, 22 years.
A little longer for you.
Right.
We met in network marketing. She'd already done like 2 or 3 companies beforehand. Yeah.
Yes.
This can become a little bit of a dating game.
Yes.
Network marketing, because
you're single looking to mingle.
You're hanging out with like-minded people, positive energy. You go to these conferences, somebody's single, see somebody else single, go,
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
Yeah.
And you have this excuse to be able to hang out. You could pretend that you're networking and you're strategizing different ideas when that's not the intention at all.
Oh, I saw her do a testimonial and I was very intrigued.
So what
Oh gosh, John.
what was the testimonial? Do you remember the testimonial?
Generally, I just remember the accent was thick.
Yes, I was succeeding for sure. They put me in front of the room.
Short skirt.
And when I met John, right, I was going through a divorce and I was uninterested in American men specifically at that time because I didn't think they could keep up with my aggressive personality, right? And then I remember hearing John, like you stood up and you said something and my inner voice said, I'm going to marry him. And I remember being shocked to my very core. I'm like, no, this is not. I'm here to hustle, succeed. But it was quite a journey, I have to say, this network marketing. Sometimes you're networking through people to market yourself. So if you're single looking to mingle, this for sure is a profession to operate
I did have my girlfriend there at the time.
Oh my God.
But that didn't last too long, so it all worked out.
Yeah.
She was not on the same page, John.
And they used to try to get her to convince me to speak in front of the room because I wouldn't even do a testimonial. They couldn't get me to do an introduction of like the speaker.
I can't even imagine that.
Dude, I literally, I warned them. I said, if you try to bring me in front of the room, I'll walk out. Like that's how they would get her. She lived in Indiana. I was in Maryland. They would get her to call me and just see how I was doing.
To mentor him a little bit.
And then she'd be like, so when are you going to start presenting? I'm like, nah, I knew that's why you were calling. I'm not interested. So yeah, it took a while to get me up there.
I find it fascinating, John, that you were not willing to be kind of publicly out there because this profession has obviously gotten you out of your shell.
Yeah, a little bit.
And you've become more comfortable in that. Are you still an introvert in general?
I don't even think.
Or were you then?
I don't think I'm an introvert. I think I was just such a shark, so aggressive that I was like, I'm not going to go up there and embarrass myself. Because I'm definitely an extrovert. But speaking in front of a group of people, and I never said this when I would say no. Years later, I realized I was just super insecure. But at the time, it was like, no, I'm not going up there. And there wasn't even a reason. I was just like, I mean, I knew the reason, but I wouldn't say it to other people. I'm like, I don't want to go up there. You told me I could bring people to the meeting, and that's what I'm doing. I'm a body tracker.
the hard charger in you, I would assume, would say, well, what changed for me is somebody said the person with the marker, person up front makes the money. And I went,
that was it.
Well, I guess I got to be one of those people because I did the math. I just started counting the people who's up there doing the presentation. Well, how much did they make? Oh, that's a lot. 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 I could be an inviter to somebody making the money and they'll help me make some money.
Yep.
Or I can be up in front of the room, face my fear, do all of that stuff and make bigger money.
Yep.
I've always been the student of there's what sounds good in network marketing, and then there's what actually works.
Right.
Yeah.
People talk about these different things, and there's rhymey things in our business, and all these little phrases and cliches. But I've made it a real focus to say what really works. Instead of what just sounds good. Like I had people, tell me I'll never do a 3-way phone call, or I'll never do a 2-on-1 lunch, or I'll never
do videos.
I'll never meet somebody face to face, or I'll never use social media. That's nonsense. I hear your point. Let's take a look at what's working. Let's look around the world. Let's look inside the team. Let's take a look at what's really working.
Right.
And then we can call that nonsense or whatever.
Yeah.
So what Jim Rohn used to say is be a product of your own conclusions. Take a look at what's actually going on, make that decision, and move forward and be willing to adapt and willing to adjust.
Right.
There's a lot of pivots.
I'll say this, when I launch a new person, I typically have them do what they're comfortable doing at first, because I know they're just not ready to take that leap. And that was me. I just wasn't ready to start speaking in front of the room. But you know what happened? I had a guy on my team that started doing presentations, and he was brutal. And I'm sitting there like, dude, this is awful. Like I need to get up there. Like, not only is it embarrassing that I have someone in my downline actually doing presentations, but he's terrible. Like, I could do better than that. And but it was, the people in front of the room make the most money. Yeah. More edification. Plus you're becoming independent of your upline. Like you said, you just eventually get that WIT mentality, whatever it takes. Yeah. Whatever it takes. Yeah. But in the beginning.
Within reason.
Yes, within reason.
I found out that there are some boundaries to that.
Yeah.
I early in my career, I had the whatever it takes, and I took it to an extreme.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
Yeah. Then you burn yourself out. Yeah.
Not even burn yourself out. I did some things that I shouldn't have done.
Oh, you mean like ethically?
Yeah.
Got it. Yes.
I did some things in my ambition.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Say whatever you got to say, do whatever you got to do.
Yep. And that's the little, period of my life was just like, wish I could take that back, but, being super hyper aggressive, whatever. I learned those were my 20s, when I was like Wall Street,
boiler room.
Let's go crush. Yeah. There's winners and losers, all that stuff. So let's do this. What I'd like you to do is tell me your network marketing story up until social media came into the equation. John, you start, and then I'll have Nadya. Just the whole.
Well, both of us were out doing
a summary of it, being introduced.
Yeah.
And then
the very beginning.
Yeah. Your network marketing journey, and take me all the way up.
Got it.
Yeah. How did it launch? How long till you made money? All that stuff.
I probably spent more money than I made the first couple years. And of course, everybody told me it was a pyramid scam and, all the negative Nancy's. In fact, I had some friends that literally went out of their way to warn all my other buddies. And I still remember that. And it was fuel for the fire. It was just like, I need to prove them wrong. And it is funny because you're like, years from now, I'm going to show you. And like, I'm not even in contact with any of those guys. Right. But if I did come across them, I'd be like, you really inspired me in those early years to keep going. But with that being said, the first company we were in was a company called Trek Alliance, which was a spinoff of Equinox. And for people that don't know, Equinox was a really big MLM for a while. The top earners in that company started Trek. And Trek, we came in about 3 years into it. And then their 5 year, when they hit their 5th year around that time, they got shut down because the owner of Equinox helped them get shut down. It was like a whole thing. And I remember thinking like, damn, everybody was right. My friends were right. It was a pyramid scam like the whole time, because there was a big emphasis. And I know you know this because you've been around much longer than us. It was all about recruiting and inventory. Yeah. Right. Like we had these bibs, business in a box. And if you wanted to be a supervisor, you bought 2 bibs. Yeah. So we were helping people. How much was
the package?
$2,000. So you were kind of talking about the shiftiness back then. Like we had this like boiler room mentality, like whatever it takes.
One of the knocks on network marketing is what used to be kind of what they would call front end loading, where people would purchase a bigger amount of inventory in the hopes that they would sell it to their customers.
Which kind of made sense. Yeah. Traditional business, you would have inventory.
You have your business, right? 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, those types of things. And then they would go out and move that to customers over time. Many wouldn't face their fears in order to be able to do the process to do that.
Right.
And then they'd have this stuff sitting in their garage. They used to call it garage qualified.
Yes.
So I'm qualified for my check. The first company that I got involved with in 1988, a long time ago, was water filters. And it was $5,000 to get started. You got 40 filters that you would go demo and sell. And it was,
did you do the test, like the chlorine?
Oh yeah, chlorine test, the whole thing. Yeah. And then it was another $5,000 in new business that you had to do every month to qualify to get a check.
Wow.
Just to get a check.
Personal volume, just to qualify.
So people were probably buying it if they couldn't sell it.
Yeah. For sure. I will share this with people because here, imagine this is my whatever it takes mentality at the time. Okay. Yeah. So I'm involved. And I'd go full time after like 90 days because I had a little bit of quick success, just lucky from my parents' contacts and stuff. Then it got hard then everything kind of fell apart. My team fell apart. You have to do $5,000 worth of new volume. Back then, they had UPS would ship the product, and you would order the product COD, cash on demand, collect on demand. You'd have to have a check to the UPS driver to be able to deliver when the product arrived. So you're at the 28th of the month or the 30th of a month.
Right.
And you're like, you haven't got it yet, but you got 8 prospects that are, you're trying to convince them. It's really a good idea if you start, do this before the end of the month. But there's no reason for them to do that at all. But there's a big reason for me for them to do it. But they're probably going to do it anyway.
Right.
So, all right, I'm just going to order and get it on the way.
Right.
So it's now, it's being shipped, takes a week or whatever. And I've got an extra week I buy in order to be able to wait for the COD to arrive.
Wow.
And when it arrives, if I don't have the person yet, then I kind of avoid the UPS driver for a few days until I finally have something.
Right.
And, then that person finally says, yes, great, take that check, put it in and give it to UPS driver, take the stuff, give it to them. But now it's the 10th of the month and I got 20 days to do it again.
Wow.
Right? So I cannot tell you how many months I scrambled and my month got shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And in my first 3 years, I had no duplication really. I had addition and subtraction. I didn't have any momentum really with that process, but I'm glad those days are over as far as that extra pressure on this would-be entrepreneur. Now people just connect people to the company at the low price of entry, just on time or right on time type shipping situations. People can have some for their sample for their own personal use. That's all great, but they don't need to have a whole bunch unless they need some for a
big event,
presentation or event or something. So anyway, then I digress, but this is my, when I was your age, I walked to school uphill in the snow against the wind, and you young kids got it easy with talk to me about your $97 that you got to do to qualify or whatever.
Right.
Stop it. It's nothing.
Yeah.
But anyway, it did make me tougher.
Yeah.
But man, it was a real challenge.
Yeah.
It was something. And then if you just couldn't pull it off and couldn't qualify and you lost your commissions for that month, you didn't qualify to get your commissions that month.
Well, it was so stressful for us too, because I remember we used to take people to these little loan department places like AmeriQuest, and we would have them go in there and they'd come back out to the car. We would drive them there and we're helping them fill out the application. No, don't say you rent, say you own, because you're not going to get approved if you say you rent. If you own, then it's collateral and literally. But that's what we were taught. We were taught just to basically have people lie to get the money.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
There are limits.
Yes.
To this.
Yes.
There are limits to this. So anyway, you're involved with that. First 2 years, you're kind of learning, but you're not earning.
Yeah, spent more than we made for sure. For sure, spent more because we're running ads, Career Builder, Monster. We're looking for people who are sports minded. We had to pay desk rent. We had to pay for our office phone, our cell phones. There was so much, and then on top of that, we're broke. We live at home with our parents.
They have, similar to Equinox, did they have a training program inside the company?
Oh yeah,
where everybody's paying for training
every month.
Doing the big events and stuff.
And they weren't local.
Yeah,
they were $250 for EPs, educational programs.
Same model.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then eventually your goal was to be one of the speakers because you get a cut of that. And anyway, I remember just being so blown away by every single event I went to. I remember sitting in the seats being like, how do they know what to say? How are they just talking for an hour straight? They were always so sharp, so dynamic in front of the room. And I would always make sure that I qualified for whatever the leadership recognition thing was. We'd hang out with those people. That was back in my drinking days. I've been sober 15 years, but
Good.
I remember going out drinking with these guys and you get to know them a little bit and you're like, they're just as crazy as me. This is fantastic. And of course that actually wasn't a good thing. But with that being said, did that for a little while. Then they got shut down. Nadia and I went into the mortgage industry and we crushed.
So you met all the way back then?
Oh yeah. We met in the very first company. Yeah.
Oh, how long have you guys been together now then?
19 years.
19
years. Oh,
married. Yeah.
19 years married?
22 plus years together.
Yeah, our son's 18. He's going to be going off to college in 3 weeks.
So for me, because I moved here and my parents sacrificed a lot. So they lived below poverty level. So I came with a mission. I couldn't speak English very well. I like graduated quickly from college at 19. And I remember getting my first job. Like, this is my story, right? I was so motivated. I became this assistant manager at Finish Line. You know, I brought my spirit of excellence. And my first check, 2 weeks into it, I remember looking at it thinking, who is FICA? Why is FICA taking all my money? And so I just remember having that moment of realizing this whole traditional, like, get a job and work really hard. Like, I knew immediately. Now, before I got recruited into that company, I did Mary Kay in college. I was an aggression session. Now, back in the day,
an aggression session,
like, I was so criticized by my upline because they go, Nadya, you know, we're in a people business, right? They should kind of like you if you want them to follow you and your beautiful protocols and your beautiful ideas. So they really, really criticized me. So I started to recognize, like, okay, maybe I should read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Polish things
like,
a bit.
Polish it. I was a little too
She had no
rough.
tolerance.
I had
no tolerance
zero
for people.
tolerance, Eric.
Or excuses.
I'm like, wait, I don't understand. So you have this big goal. You don't show up early to the meet. Like, I was a drill sergeant. Like, I really enjoyed my time.
But in her
now,
defense, she's from Russia.
Didn't enjoy it.
Marina's the
Right?
same.
Yeah, it's like you come all the way here from Russia at 16.
I had contrast.
Yeah.
Where most people that I was talking to, they had none. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like what in America is considered a necessity, in other countries, it's a luxury. So when I moved to America, I'm like, wait, grocery store has so much abundance to this day, Eric. I love going to the grocery store. All the fruits and all the vegetables. I still grow my own, like, it's a different kind of mindset. So anyways, fast forward, I, first of all, had a huge vision. So a lot of times, right, for those of us that maybe don't want to step outside of our comfort zone, like at 16, I came halfway across the world, no internet, 1996. Do you guys remember Y2K? Like Y2K, I feel like it was last century, you know?
It literally was.
And it was. Thank
back
you, John.
in AOL days when they're sending out CDs to everybody.
Yeah.
But it's not like she could just get in touch with her parents.
No,
you know? So her
I
parents,
was alone.
I mean, sending your 16-year-old to another country and then being like, hope these people are normal.
That's true. So anyways, I get started in network marketing. I captivate this vision. I'm thinking I'm going to buy my own island. I call my family in Russia. I'm like, you guys get ready. Scarcity will be behind us soon. And my parents were so critical. They're like, gosh, we just paid all this money for you to go to college. And they said all this negative OPO, you know? So I hung up and somehow
explain OPO.
OPO, other people's opinions.
Yeah.
So they didn't catch my vision. Very much like that doesn't sound good. Network marketing didn't have a good reputation at the time in Russia. And I just remember thinking, wow, that's their ideas. You know, they're halfway across the world. What can they do to stop me? Goodbye. I'm going to do what I need to do. And yes, so the first 10 years, I would say, Eric, in our career, it didn't, like, I did have some quick success, like what you were saying, because like numbers, I had no fear for
just
whatever reason. I just grinded.
Like to faint.
I spoke with a heavy accent. I wasn't smiling much, but like my advantage was I had an amazing work ethic at the time. Still do today. A little bit crushed it. For sure, it got a little heavy, you know, when the FTC shut it down. And then we a little bit lost our vision for sure. Like we started working, we got into traditional business. And after a couple of years of that.
Well, let's talk about that. You went into the mortgage business?
Mortgage industry.
When? What year?
2004.
2004. I've heard this story several times from several people in conversation in the chairs you're sitting in. And many of them was like, yeah, about 2004, you know, we started going.
Yeah.
And we know the end of this story. I'm assuming that let me see if I can guess it.
Yeah.
You built and it was going great. And then 2008 hit and everything, you got the rug pulled out from underneath you.
Yeah.
Plus
2008, 2009.
Yeah. I mean, I got a job because this guy that I had recruited his girlfriend into the previous company. I don't want to go on a whole rant about that, but he was very sharp, very smart. And he's like, I think you would crush it in mortgages. But this was like, 8-9 months before that company went out of business. And I remember thinking, I don't know what a mortgage is. No idea what that even means, but okay. And just kind of like, just remembered that conversation because he was sharp and he dropped out of college to do it. And I dropped out of college. And, so anyway, we were in Colorado and unfortunately, my father died. Then shortly after that, Nadya got pregnant and we're like out in Colorado. We're kind of doing this other company, but not really. We're basically sleeping in every day till 12, going out drinking. We're waiting tables. We're not really doing much. And we were going to get a job. So I hit up Tom and I'm like, hey man, so if I come back to Maryland, if I come back there, do you think you can get me a job? And he's like, absolutely, 100%. So we moved back to Maryland and, she's pregnant. So we're also like, we're going to get support from my mom and like, it'll be a lot easier. And anyway, so we ended up doing mortgages and the first year I made $125,000, which was astronomical. I'd never even made $30,000 in a year waiting tables. I was a rookie of the year, #1 loan officer. But it's interesting, took what I learned in network marketing.
Of course.
And then she's pregnant at a different mortgage company where our upline from our previous company was, and she's crushing it. Now, not as much as me because she's pregnant, but the two of us are making more money than we know what to do with, and that was eye-opening. That was when I got a taste.
Yeah. And
I liked that taste. I was like, I want to keep making money like this. And when because we had contrast, comparing it to what we did in that first network marketing company, it was like the easiest thing in the world because it's all phone calls.
Well, yeah. I mean, the skills that you learn here, people don't really understand what it does to other traditional businesses. Even people who come into the profession and leave, they're like, well, now this is just got easy. Yeah. Because wait, you're going to provide leads, or whatever is happening. So it's just leads, finding leads, contacting, inviting, presenting, following up, closing. I mean, this is not hard. Right. This is a piece of cake. And you have structure.
And you have people skills. You have work ethic. Like, someone says, hey, follow up with me a year from now. I followed up with them a year to the day. Yes. Like they were blown away and I outworked everybody. I made 100 calls a day. And it was funny because I remember at first, so the guy that hires me, he says, if you make 100 calls a day, you'll make 6 figures. And I straight up told him, I don't know what a mortgage is, but I will outwork every loan officer in your company.
Right.
And, I went to work and absolutely body slammed it. Next year, I was the #1 loan officer. I still made 500 calls every single week. And I remember because they would post the call logs.
Sure.
I'm always on the phone. I'm going to the bathroom. I got my headset in. It was all just work ethic. And it was because of what I learned in network marketing.
You know what it reminds me of is The Wolf of Wall Street when Leonardo DiCaprio's character walks into that little pink slip off-market strip mall.
Penny stock
brokerage. And he just does what is a normal call to him. And they all look like he just invented fire. Like what in the world? And that's like the skills you learn in network marketing. You just walk in, I can do that. Then people are like, where did you come from? Who are you?
Right.
What is going on? So
it gives you thick skin, Eric. And I think that's the thing that you mentioned this. A lot of people got lazy over the last 3, 4, 5 years because of social media.
Maybe spoiled.
Spoiled is a better word. Yeah. They don't have the thick skin. They're not tough.
Yeah. You need some adversity for some toughness. You went through some adversity, but you learned. Here's what I would tell you. There's what happens sometimes in network marketing is there's learning seasons and there's earning seasons. It's like this a little rhymey thing that I didn't mean to be rhymey, but sometimes you're just learning and maybe the company is mismanaged, doesn't do well, or for whatever reason, you have a need to move on, but the skills go with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The attributes, the attitude, the toughness goes with you. And you can use that in other places, whether inside network marketing or out. Yeah. People use these skills to improve their homes and relationships, all kinds of things. Talk to me about 2008, 2009. What happened?
So we were making so much money.
Yeah.
And then we decided, let's be really optimized and let's invest all of our money. And then we went through a stage where we paid stupid tax. Where we bought 7 properties, we bought them high, and then we gave them away at, to the banks. So when 2007, 2008 came about, 2006, we got started back in network marketing because it started to kind of settle in that you're only as good as your last month. Mm-hmm. And at this point we have, Dylan, and we want to be able to have more flexibility than being in the office. So we get started with a company where we then spent 7 years of our life, very much old school, where we went above and beyond. We squeezed 40 years of work into 5. And at one point, I'm pregnant with our second one with Christina and Eric. I'm like pregnant. We're doing 2 meetings every night. We're doing Friday night leadership. We're doing Saturday training. Like we're committed. Like this is, again, I'm on a mission to buy an island. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no stopping now. And we did move my family here from Russia. So we are making money. I have in-home babysitters. We're doing these things. And then we have Christina. She, on a Tuesday, she's 10 pounds, 2 ounces.
Wow.
Ginormous baby, right? So Saturday before that, we did a Saturday training, had her on a Tuesday. And then Saturday, we're getting back in the car to go do the training. And I remember my mom looked at me and she's like, Nadya, this, like just her look kind of communicated, there's gotta be a better way. And, you know, this is when we kind of started to, and really John is like such a visionary. I was such a worker. I was like bathing in this Kool-Aid. We were so committed. We got to the second highest level in this company to find ourselves with golden handcuffs. And then he goes, baby, maybe there's something to this internet thing, right? Can we go there?
So we went all in on the dates. We went all in 2008.
Yeah.
Finally started making 6 figures in network marketing after kind of playing with it for 7 years. So for 2008, 2013, that's what she's talking about. That 5-year run. I mean, it was brutal. We went on a 90-day run every 90 days for 5 years because there was a big convention every 90 days. So it's like you go to the convention, you get fired up, your team's there, you know, and then you go on a run 90 days. There's another big convention. And it was just that burnout, that MLM PTSD was significant.
You know, I'll tell you a quick story. In early 2000s, I had one little season of about 2 years or so where I wasn't directly involved in network marketing. I had sold the company, figured out a way to lose all my money, invested everything into a media company that didn't work out. It was kind of before its time. Lost that, fired myself as CEO of that company. I remember asking my friends, you know, living in the country club, you know, hanging out, talking with them, and like, so guys, what strategies do you have to be able to make $1 million a year? Any advice, any thoughts, any ideas, any brainstorming? And they laughed and laughed. And they're like, what? Well, first, you got to have some money. Second, you need to add like 20 years.
Oh.
Third, you have to be amazingly good. Then after that, you got to watch your back. That doesn't sound like a good plan to me at all.
Especially the watch your back part.
Yeah. Because really, I mean, but that's the truth.
Be paranoid. Yeah.
That's the truth. So as soon as that's happening, somebody's coming to you know, take that company. Right. So, you know, I went back into network marketing and within 2 years at $1 million a year. You know, it took me 2 years to get that. So it's like, well, they're dumb. That plan's stupid.
Yeah.
I could take my same influence here and just go be able to recreate it. Right. I'm gonna go do that, which I did.